Hello, everyone. Since I have been actually writing for the rights of the Muhajirs, recording video messages and fighting for the rights of the Muhajirs through my journalistic work and running campaign under RMS, the rights of Muhajirs. Um, the people have asked me who don't understand Urdu that what is this Muhajirs and what is RMS and what is all about the rights of the Muhajirs in Sindh, Pakistan. So I thought today that I should briefly explain in English as well for our those friends and the people who don't understand Urdu. Muhajirs are the section of Pakistanis live in the urban areas of Sindh, Pakistan. They are the descendants of the migrants came into Pakistan in 1947 from the majority of areas of India where the Muslims were in minority. So millions of people migrated from India to Pakistan, East Pakistan and West Pakistan. Um, and among those migrants, there were millions of people who migrated to the Sindh in the and settled in Karachi, Hyderabad, Sakar, majority in the urban areas of Sindh. At that time, since 1947, when Pakistan created, Karachi was the capital of Pakistan, as announced by the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And In 1958, army took over the power in Pakistan, and General Ayub Khan actually announced the martial law in Pakistan because there was a conflict between the people of East Pakistan and West Pakistan. East Pakistan had a majority of population of Bengalis, and they had their demands. Uh, from the rulers of the West Pakistan, and it's a long story. Cutting short, Pakistan actually, after a war in 1971, split, and East Pakistan became Bangladesh. But before that, in 1958, when Ayub Khan took over and ruled the army in the country, he actually moved the capital from Karachi to Islamabad. So keep in mind, Karachi was not the part of Sindh, but it was a capital of Pakistan when the Pakistan was created. Then in 1967, it was moved to Islamabad, and then later on, the Karachi was merged into the state of Sindh province. So when election happened in 1970, and a majority party from East Pakistan, Awami League, led by Mujibur Rahman, won in majority. 160 seats they won out of 300, and 78 seats won by People's Party from West Pakistan. The people from West Pakistan, the parliamentarian, particularly Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and army as well, Yahya Khan, who was the chief martial law administrator, they did not want to give power to the people of East Pakistan, and Mujibur Rahman ran campaign, and he wanted the independence, and with the support of the India, the um, Bengalis in East Pakistan had a fight, a war against Pakistan army in support of the Indian army as well, and Pakistan is split, and East Pakistan became Bangladesh. But here in the West Pakistan, um, the federation uh, was uh, broken into units, states, and four states: Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and Sarhad, which is today Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Uh, so these provinces were there before the creation of Pakistan, and if you look into these provinces, these are more identified um, because of their language, because of their culture, like Punjabis who speaks Punjabi, they live in Punjab, even though part of the some part of the South Punjab was not part of the Punjab, but it was merged as well. And in Sindh, there are a community called Sindhi speaking. They are 50% of the Sindh population, and it's called Sindhi because of their Sindhi language and all. And then similarly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, though there are a lot of Baluchis as well, and some other ethnic communities as well, but it is called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and changed name from Sarhad to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And similarly Balochistan, where Balochis, even though they are Pakhtun as well, living, so they are more identified by their ethnicity and their languages. So the dilemma was that the millions of migrants who migrated from India to Pakistan and lived in urban areas of Sindh, and especially in Karachi. At that time, Karachi was the capital, as I said. So majority of the migrants who we call Muhajjirs now, they are identified as Muhajjirs. Um, Live in Karachi, and then another second number city is Hyderabad and Sakkar. So they actually um, lived. They started their life in the urban areas. They went to the businesses and education, and they are educated people. They serve the government offices, and they build the urban areas. They build Karachi. Um, they're very talented people, and um, in 1973, when a new constitution was implemented and passed from the parliament by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, uh, he actually divided Sindh as a Sindh urban and Sindh rural, not as a province, but uh, uh, in the different areas of government services and education. So he actually made Hyderabad, Karachi, Sakkar as Sindh urban, and the remaining area of Sindh as a Sindh rural areas. And then he um, classified, allocated 60% Sindh government jobs to the Sindh rural, which is basically other than Karachi, Hyderabad, Sakkar, and then also in the higher education as well. Though the majority of the educated people were in the urban areas, but they gave only 40% to the urban areas where majority are Muhajirs. Many people call them Urdu speaking, but I don't call them Urdu speaking solely because they are not only speak Urdu, there are also other speaking migrants from India like Gujarati, Memon, Kachewadi, even Punjabi. So I am Bengali. People from Bihar, they speak similar to Urdu like Biharis. So they were all migrated people, and they, because the other communities, other people of Pakistan are more call themselves, identified themselves by their ethnicity, by provincialism like Punjabi, Sindhi, Balochi, and Pashtun. So the Mahajir who came into Pakistan, not in any province, but to Pakistan. But when Pakistan was uh, composed of the provincialism and provincial based politics, then Mahajir found themselves at nowhere. They can't call them Sindhi because Sindhi means in Sindh who speaks Sindhi. So that's another dilemma. So then, because the migrant, they have their own language, they have their thousands year old culture, um, their traditions, their food, everything was different than the local people living there before 1947. So they are identified as Muhajirs. So Muhajirs are the children, the grandchildren of those who migrated from the India to Pakistan on the name of Pakistan for the rights of the basic rights as a Muslim, as a Pakistani. So, because of the discrimination of 40% and 60% quota, there was concerns of the Mahajirs and they demanded to have a merit in Sindh. Uh, and keep in mind that this division of urban, Sindh urban and Sindh rural was not in the other provinces. So there was no Sindh Punjab urban or Punjab rulers in Punjab or in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or in Balochistan. It is only in Sindh because Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was Sindhi speaking, purposely did this just to play a politics on ethnicity, on racism, on Sindhi Muhajir. So to gain the vote from the Sindhi speaking, he did this, giving the impression that he wanted to develop the Sindhi speaking areas and Sindhi speaking or living in rural areas. So he made this division as Sindh urban and Sindh rulers. And since then, these two very identifiable um, the communities in or ethnicities in Sindh, Muhajir and Sindhi, um, have their own distinctions, uh, value, and social attributes. So now in Sindh, there are Sindhis and Muhajirs. Now, uh, Muhajir plus all the people who move from the other areas of Pakistan, from Punjab, from uh, especially from Punjab and from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the Pashtun and Balochis. They are also living in the urban areas. But Sindhi speaking or the Sindhi nationalists, they call Sindhi nationalists themselves because they are demanding Sindhu Desh. They want the Sindhu Desh, and they think that they are not getting their rights, even though the government for the last 50 years ruled by Sindhi speaking. In Sindh, since the creation of Pakistan 1947, never ever chief minister uh, appointed or elected from the Urdu speaking or non Sindhi speaking ethnicity. Every time a chief minister must be from the Sindhi speaking, even though uh, at least 40 or 45% Mahajirs are living in Sindh. The population 40 to 45% not given true census. They are uh, they counted the census were not done properly. Their population were not actually defined according to the numbers that they are in Sindh, and they are not given actually the number of constituencies in the parliament they deserve for. They have less seats in Sindh, in Karachi, in Hyderabad, in Sakkar, in Mirpur Khas compared to their population. And if you see the other side, the rural areas, even if you, for example, see in one of the constituencies in Sindh, you will find there are 200,000 votes in one constituency, while you see in the rural areas, in uh, in the towns, um, even though a seats uh, one constituency contain only 40-50,000 vote. So that's another unfair parliamentary system, unfair census system, unfair um, the democratic system in Sindh is going on. So Mahajir demands their basic rights in the jobs, um, and in the education, because in education as well, in higher education, engineering and medical colleges, technical colleges, they have implemented this quota system of 40-60%, even though on 40% for the urban areas, the people from rural areas, because they um, uh, rule the province by People's Party, who represent the Sindhi speakings, and they play the politics of Sindhi speakings. So they actually easily get the fake domicile of uh, urban areas and get admission as well. So even though the Muhajirs and the non-Sindhi speakings are not getting the Sindh government jobs and higher education jobs on merits, because uh, the Sindhi speaking also forgely with the wrongdoings and with the bribes get the domicile of the urban area and get the admission, um, and for which is basically the right of the Muhajirs, urban areas people. So this is what the all fight, and for the rights of the Muhajirs, they want merit. They are not saying that we are our quota system, our quota should be increased or we should given more quota or actually equal quota. What Muhajirs are saying that we should be treated as equal citizens as the Sindhi speaking or the other citizens of Pakistan on merit. Uh, Mahajir wants the merit in all over Pakistan because they believe Pakistan. They don't believe on provincialism or provincial uh, politics. Um, as I said to you before, that the parents and grandparents of Mahajir came into Pakistan um, uh, for Pakistan, not for any province. So they believe on Pakistan. They are very patriotic Pakistanis. Um, and they want that in Sindh, people should be treated equally as Pakistanis, not as Sindhi, Mahajir, or Punjabi or Pathan. This is what their demand is, and now these the third generation of Mahajirs have grown up in Sindh. They are not in the Sindh government jobs. You hardly see any Mahajir in Sindh secretariat, Sindh government, in Sindh police, Sindh administration, all these take up by Sindhi speaking through the People's Party rule. People's Party has been ruling since last 20 years, and they have occupied the whole um, Sindh ruling system, um, uh, the parliament and all, because of their wrongdoings, their unfair democratic system, their unfair census. So the system has to be um, uh, uh, restructured again, um, and this is what Mahajir wants. Mahajir want their rights, and we are fighting for that. So uh, we, the uh, people, the Mahajirs who are living outside Pakistan, we also support Mahajirs in Sindh, and we are fighting for the rights of the Mahajirs, and we are Pakistanis first. But when the people in Pakistan talk about, they show their identity and demonstrate themselves as Punjabi and Balochi and Saraiki and Pashtun and all those, then the Mahajir identifies themselves as Mahajir, and they want that um, uh, every person in Pakistani, being a Pakistani, should be treated on merit, and particularly in Sindh, there should not be a quota system at all. Now, over the last 50 years, Pakistanis, as you know, the population has been increasing a lot, and now the population of Sindh is around 60 millions, and among them, around 20 millions are Mahajirs. So um, they're not a small numbers. So the government of the rulers of Pakistan, particularly most of the time, army rule the country. So they have to actually uh, look the matter seriously for the stability of Pakistan, to for the Federation of Pakistan, because the People's Party in Sindh and the Sindh national movements wants to split and liberate Sindh from Pakistan, and they are the same using the same tactics as or and same movement as done by people of East Pakistan, because people of East Pakistan were not given their rights as well compared to their population and their contribution in the creation of Pakistan, their leadership and all. And what happened? They actually struggle, they fight, and they had a problem with the ruling class of West Pakistan, and eventually India supported them, and they had a battle in 1971. Pakistan army defeated in East Pakistan by the India army with the Bengali militia called Mukti Bahini, and Pakistani split. We Mahajis don't want this happen in Sindh because the people, Sindhi nationalists, which are not in majority, by the way, majority of Sindhi speakings are patriotic Pakistanis, but the ruling class, the ruling elite, People's Party, comprised of the tribal leaders, Waderes, um, landlords. They rule the uh, their population is Sindhi speaking, and even the Sindhi speaking, the common people in Sindh, in rural areas, as well, are uh, not given their right. There is this lack of education. There's the issue of health. There is issue of um, um, educational institutes, their education, their issue of clean water. So even People's Party, who has been ruling Sindh, have not given the basic facilities to their people, to their voters. Um, and they discriminated the urban areas because um, the Muhajirs are not their voters. They don't support People's Party because People's Party play the politics of racism and on the basis of language and culture. So the rulers of Pakistan, which is basically army most of the time, they have to look into this. Even the government, when government always or the political parties always win the election who has got the support of the army, and similar the case is today as well. Imran Khan has got full support of the Pakistan army, so they have to, Imran has to do, the Prime Minister Imran Khan and his party and the army, um, and the establishment and the bureaucracy, they have to look into Sindh. Uh, the situation, political situation in Sindh is very dangerous. There are national movements boiling up. They are uniting themselves in the rural areas. They are talking about um, liberation of Sindh, freedom of Sindh. They are abusing Pakistan. They are burning out Pakistan flags. They are now coming in cities and as well. They are demonstrating on the streets of Karachi, which never happened before. They are demonstrating on the CGT cities of Hyderabad with the flags of GS in Sindhu Desh, which is anti-Pakistan ideology. They want Sindhu Desh, a separate uh, country for the Sindhi people, which uh, should be controlled by the Pakistani rulers. So this is what this thing is all about. Um, the Muhajirs, we people living in different countries, uh, also, uh, demand that the people Muhajir in the Sindh urban areas, particularly in Karachi, should be given the rights, and the best way now in today's situation, that the Sindh should be divided into further provinces. We, under the platform of the RMS, Rights of Muhajirs, propose that Sindh should be divided into three provinces: Sindh North, Sindh Central, and Sindh South. And this is the only way to uh, give the rights to the common people without discrimination. Doesn't matter Sindhi speaking, Urdu speaking, Mahajir, Sindhi, Punjabi, everyone should be given the rights, and it can be only done if the province should be divided into three provinces, because there's too much population. The ruling system, administration, all collapsed because of the corruption by People's Party, ruling People's Party, and the federal government. The the bigger provinces, the Punjab is the biggest provinces. They have to look into this. Army has to look into this, and they have to do something to have the restructuring of even though the entire country. We need more provinces in Punjab. We need more provinces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan as well. But our demand is that there should be Sindh should be divided into three provinces, and Sindh South should be consist of Karachi. province, basically. So we have formed a platform called Rights of Muhajirs, which is an international human rights forum for Muhajirs. It is not a political party; it's a human right platform, and our demands are these. Our demands: RMS demands the division of Sindh into three provinces, where Karachi should be a separate province as Sindh South. RMS demands immediate abolition of the quota system from Sindh. RMS demands local citizens of Sindh urban cities should be given local jobs, especially in police, judiciary, secretariat, administration, custom, revenue. RMS demands every job should have a criterion of merit in provincial and federal jobs. RMS demands all admissions in educational and technical institutes should be on merit. No quota system. RMS demands Karachi city government should be formed that should have its own police, security, administration, judiciary, and revenue. This is what we demand, and this is according to the constitution. As the constitution of Pakistan, if you see um, the article 27, safeguard against discrimination in service. No citizen otherwise qualified for appointment in the service of Pakistan shall be discriminated against in respect of such appointment on the ground of the race, religion, caste, sex, residence, or place of birth. And this is what exactly happening, because Zulfikar Ali Bhutto amended this constitution in 1973 and added that, provided that for a period of not exceeding 40 years from the commencing day, post may be reserved for persons belonging to any class or area to secure their adequate representation in the services, which is a quota system. So if you see the 1973 constitutions of Khalid Bhutto added and include and created Sindh Urban and Sindh Rural uh, in the form of quota system. So even they are not doing the right thing according to the Constitution of Pakistan. Article 28 says preservation of language, script, and culture should be maintained. So where if Mahajir demonstrate their have their if Mahajir have their own language and they have their own culture, they have their own tradition, they have right to do according to the constitution of Pakistan. So we demand according to the constitution of Pakistan, and we demand to abolish the discriminative rules of the in the constitution. So this is what demand, and uh, this is all about. So this is what our demand is, and we want the rights for the Mahajir. This is what the um, uh, uh,